Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is your brother Ayash Kabar from the GMS Virginia camp, coming at you with another lesson that I pray that you find edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. And, you know, our people are definitely wicked, bro. You know, they don't want to hear the words of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai on no level. They don't want to hear, wisdom, period. You know what I'm saying? So earlier this week, Salakia, earlier this week, I went to the local supermarket, to pick up some items. So as I'm approaching the counter, the person behind the counter was like, "Do you own a restaurant or something like that?" And I'm like, "Nah, why?" And she's like, "Well, I never saw anybody pick up multiple items of the same thing." So in my cart, I had shit like, a couple of cans of peas, a couple of cans of string beans, a couple of packs of pasta of the same type, that type shit. So I'm like, nah, I don't own a restaurant, this is just what I want to keep in my crib. And she's like, "Oh, okay." So the only reason why I told her that, I kind of threw her a pearl, like you should have food in your crib, without saying you should have food in your crib. But nonetheless, she didn't pick up on that. So, I kind of let that go. So I pay for my items. And, as I'm leaving, I stop again and I'm like, yo, because at this point, I'm talking to her, another woman that works with her, and the Jake that was in the line. So I turn and I say, "Hey, you guys watch the news?" And the woman that was helping me was like, "Nah, I don't like the news because I don't like bad news." I said, "Well, if you don't watch the news, how do you know what's going on in the world?" I mean, granted, I understand there's this stigma against the news, but the news does throw out the truth. You just got to spit out the bones. And, because this is right after that shit that happened in Spain, like as far as the blackouts. So I'm like, yeah, but, it's good to watch the news because you can still find out something and do greater research type shit. She was like, "Nah, I don't like bad news, this, that, or the other." I said, "Well, I'm still throwing them gems and I understand, So I said, "Do you know what happened over in Spain?" And all the Jakes was like, "Nah." And I'm like, "Well, the entirety of Spain lost power." So the Jake was like, "Well, how?" I said, "Because the power grid went down." She was like, "How?" I said, "Well, that's the $1,000,000 question. But that's not what you should be concerned with. You should be concerned with is if it happens to you, what would you do?" Type shit. But she didn't pick up on that. And at that point, I was like, you know what? There's no talking to fucking Jake. Because Jake is going to believe what they want, especially the women. The women are going to believe what they want to believe, and they're going to do essentially what they want to do until the point comes where they can't do shit, more or less. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the mindset of a lot of people, men and women alike. Women are worse than men in terms of not fucking listening until you're faced with a situation where you better fucking listen. And we're definitely in those times where Jake's gonna start having their asses handed to him. As a matter of fact, judgment is being sent at a higher level, but being that it didn't affect you yet, you in terms of the 2/3, being that it hasn't affected Jake yet, Jake is still under this mindset of, I'm not worried about shit. So another thing that I noticed was when I was in the supermarket. Well, actually, let me bring out this precept and I'll say, you know, what I started noticing. So the book of Matthew, chapter 7 and verse 8, give not that which is holy unto the dogs, because I didn't break out any precepts or anything like that, but I tried to inform these jakes with knowledge, especially these women. I mean, I knew better. A lot of times I like to gauge, the mindset of the people by throwing out, small gems, to see who's paying attention and who's not, who's using discernment and who's not, you know. Give not that give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine. So here it is, I'm throwing them pearls. Well, actually, it ain't even pearls in the sense of precepts, but it's information that they can actually utilize and build upon to find out more information on. But yet, the mindset of Jake was like scornful, scoffing type mentality, you know what I'm saying? Because as I'm explaining this, this chick is rolling her eyes, crossing her arms, standing on one leg more than the other leg. And I'm like, all right, I see your spirit. You're not interested in what I'm saying. You're not trying to hear anything that I'm giving you. So, least they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. You know what I'm saying? Because had I kept on with the conversation, it would have been like, well, why is there a blackout there, not here type shit. You know how Jake is. Jake always like to ask questions based on trying to make you fucking look stupid. When in fact, I'm looking at these fucking people as if you're dumb as fuck. Because when you can't sit back and you can't discern what's going on in the world, and you're living in the world, then you're cut off from the understanding on what's going on. Which brings me to my next point. So here I am in this supermarket, and what I'm noticing is a lot of the shelves had products that was pushed to the front, but there was nothing behind it. In other words, when you're standing at the end of the aisle and you're looking down the aisles look full. But when you get to the item that you're looking for, and you're removing it off of the shelf, there's nothing else behind it. So a lot of that shit that's in the supermarkets is being pushed to the front and is not being refilled. So here it is. This woman works in a fucking supermarket and can't discern why the shelves are becoming less and less full. And that's just the mindset of the fucking people, especially these women, bro. These people just can't understand that there's gonna be a famine. So when she's asking me why is there multiple things in my cart, it should have hit her right a fucking way. Oh, the fucking shelves are being empty. Maybe I should stack up on a little whatever too, like he's doing. But that's not the mindset that's not the mindset of the people. That's not where their thoughts are. Whenever Jake is hungry, Jake is like a fucking animal. Like a beast. Whenever Jake is hungry, Jake can eat for that moment. And then don't think about the consequences later, or don't even consider, preparing or doing anything for his betterment. Quite honestly, what I'm saying, if you don't have the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai upon you, nothing that you would ever do would be for your benefit or your betterment, But nonetheless, Jake is just fucking done. And I can see how a lot of these women are just gonna fucking be destroyed. They're gonna be trodden down as the mire in the street. A lot of these women are gonna be destitute. A lot of these women are gonna be brought really fucking low because of their pride. And And Jake ain't no fucking different. Jake ain't no fucking different. As a matter of fact, I would dare to say that a lot of these fucking men, act like fucking women, you know? And the point is coming where a lot of these men are gonna have to man the fuck up and do what they gotta do, you know? I mean, granted, everybody has their lot, but a lot of these men are gonna have to man the fuck up, you know, and be men. And a lot of these women are gonna break that masculine mindset and become feminine because very soon they're gonna realize they're not gonna be able to walk out of their fucking houses and roam the streets the way that they do now, because very soon that's gonna be a thing of the past for a lot of these women, which is why Isaiah 4:1 is gonna kick off, you know, at a very high level, and a lot of you women are just gonna be rejected because of your stubbornness, because of your pride. Your lack of understanding is going to destroy you, Anyhow, because when all of these calamities fall upon you people, I'm not going to give a shit. Quite honestly, I can see very clearly now that when these calamities break forth, I'm not going to give a fuck about any of these women or any of these men for that matter who's not, in the truth. And what I mean by the truth, I mean the true doctrine of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. I'm not referring to these other camps. I'm referring to, the doctrine that we here at GMS push and those affiliate brothers, who's out there diligently doing the work, Because if you're not doing the work of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, I'm not going to give a fuck about you. I hate who the Lord hates, And the Lord don't like pride. Pride was not meant for man. And a lot of these fucking people exude that shit in idle conversation. Even when you don't say shit, you can look at a person and like see the fucking pride just ooze off of them. That's why in the time of Jacob's trouble, I'm not gonna give a fuck about a lot of these people. Quite honestly, I'm not gonna give a fuck about 2/3 of these people, especially these women, because the pride, even even in their poverty, even when shit is starting to go south for a lot of these women, they still have the pride upon them, to the point where they think that they shit don't stink and nothing's happening. Actually, a lot of these fucking women are doubling down on their fucking pride, as if they got something to be prideful for. They're not humble in no sense of the word. And if a woman sit back and say, I'm humble, I could submit, she's lying through her fucking teeth. Because this is her kingdom. This is a kingdom where the woman doesn't have to do those things because it wasn't forced upon her to do those things. She was never in a position where she had to do those things. A lot of these fucking women can't cook. And the men just wrap it the fuck up because a lot of them are fucking moles. Look, man, it's going to be a shocking experience for a lot of these Jakes, when Jacob's trouble hits. When these famines hit the store, that is happening right before your fucking eyes. Here it is, I'm in the store and I'm grabbing things off the shelf, looking at the shelves like, yo, I just grabbed, the last few bags of this. Here it is, I just grabbed the last bag of like noodles on a shelf where it should be full of fucking noodles. And these fucking people got the nerve to be prideful and act like they don't need to know what's going on in the world. The blindness that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai got these people under is, I'm not going to say it's amazing, nor am I going to say I'm confounded, but they are definitely in their lot, and we can see it. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 7 and verse 16, because when shit breaks down, a lot of these people are going to realize, oh shit, I fucked up. I should have done X, Y, and Z. Salakia. You know? Because when shit breaks down, a lot of people are going to be like, I should have done X, Y, and Z. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 7, and verse 16. Therefore, pray not thou for these people. I ain't going to pray for these fucking people. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't listen before Jacob's trouble, you're not going to listen the way that you should during Jacob's trouble. You know? Yahweh Shem Yahushua says, seek me early before the evil day draws nigh. You know? And if you're not seeking Yahweh Shem Yahushua early before the evil days draw nigh, you know, that's on you. Therefore, pray not for this people, neither lift up cry nor prayer for them. Yeah, don't pray for these people. Don't even worry about them. You know. Neither make an intercession to me, for I would not hear thee. You know, because in the time of Jacob's trouble, a lot of people are gonna wanna pray. A lot of people are gonna want to be saved. A lot of people are gonna want information. A lot of people are gonna want direction. And in that day, they're just not gonna find it. As a matter of fact, Yahweh Shem Yahushua said that, you know, he's gonna make the tongues of the prophets cleave to the roof of their mouths, because it's gonna be just that bad. Where you know, you're not gonna want a lot of people to. Well, quite honestly, it's gonna be so bad. You don't want people to know that you're a prophet of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. But we're going to see a lot of shit go down. We're going to see a lot of destruction. We're going to see a lot of death. We're going to see the fall of this wicked kingdom. And a part of that fall is the destruction of the wicked of the nation of Israel. You know, and that's you 2/3. You know, you Jakes and you women. You know, and quite honestly, a lot of people can't understand that children is a part of this judgment as well. Because Yahweh Shem Yahushua is not a respecter of person. You don't give a fuck if you're a kid, a newborn babe, or you know, an elderly woman, or even a young woman, which is called a maid. He don't care if you're a young man or an old man. You know, it's that spirit that's within you that he's judging through the flesh. A lot of people don't understand that, but a lot of people are or a lot of people don't understand that, but very soon, a lot of people is gonna come to the realization that they're being judged by Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and they're gonna sit back and they're gonna say, "Well, damn, I ain't got no fucking food in my house," and that guy who was in the line was trying to tell me a little bit of information as to why I should have a little something in your house. Because when this shit goes down, you don't want to be out there, you know, in the thick of the riot trying to get a fucking loaf of bread or a box of crackers or a can of peanut butter. You're not going to want to be that guy. You're not going to, and you're definitely not going to be that girl or that woman. A lot of women ain't going to put themselves in that position where they got to roam the fucking streets looking for food, because it's going to be that bad, you know? And when you sit back and you listen to these fucking women talk about, well, I'm going to have to do what I need to do to feed my kids. No, the fuck you don't. And no, the fuck you ain't. It's going to be so bad that the minute you step out your fucking house, that's a death sentence. And it's going to be so fucking bad that even when you're in your house, it's going to be a death sentence. Because a lot of you women are going to die in your homes. A lot of you women are going to die in your homes. Why? Because it's going to be so fucking bad out there that you're going to be afraid to leave. You know? And those women who have husbands who are not in the truth, you know, who don't have that hedge about them from Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you know, on Monday, he might leave the house looking for fucking food and never return. It's going to be bad. The book of Luke, chapter 21 and verse 34. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any times your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting. Yeah, you know, take heed to yourselves. Pay attention to what the fuck is going on. You know? Don't be overcharged with the cares of this world. Don't even concern yourself with, you know, popularity contests, you know, social media and all that other bullshit. Because that's just about to be ended. And drunkenness and the cares of this life, and so that the day come upon you unawares. You know, and that's what a lot of Jakes is going through. A lot of Jakes is so concerned about what's going on in this wicked kingdom that they're totally not even paying attention to the kingdom that's coming. You know? Yahweh Shah said the kingdom of heaven is within you, is within the elect. And the elect is out there on the highways and byways doing the work of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai in truth and in sincerity. But 2/3 don't even recognize that as a miracle within itself. They don't look at the prophets or the true prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai being prophetically standing in their lot. You know, the way Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai told Daniel, stand in your lot in the last days. But when we out there and we trying to warn the fucking people of what's going on and what's coming and what's about to happen and what's going to befall Great Babylon, you know, through, you know, the famines, the economical collapse, the MOTB, nuclear destruction. When we warn the people of these things, they sit back and they close their ears and they don't want to hear nothing that we got to say in terms of prophecy. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that all of these things are going on around them, and yet they're still spiritually discerned. You know, it's an amazing thing to see, but we understand through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai that he has blinded, you know, a lot of Jakes, you know, pursuant to the book of Romans 11:7. A lot of Jakes are blinded, and they don't want to hear shit you got to say. And especially these women and these effeminate fucking men who actually think they got the answers for everything. Well, the day is coming where you're going to have to show and prove. The day is coming where you're going to be tested. And in that test, you better have the right answer. And the only true answers that you could possibly have is Yahweh Wah Yahweh Shai. And if you ain't got that, you fail the test. Because, man, it's a scary thing to fall into the hands of the true and living power. And I bring that out a lot. So when these calamities fall upon Jake, they're going to have a clue as to what's going on. They're not even going to comprehend why these things are happening. Hell, they don't see it now. And we see the fact that they don't see it now. You know? The book of Luke chapter 21, jumping down to verse 35. For as a snare shall it come unto all them that dwell upon the face of the whole earth. You know? These calamities that's about to come is going to be a snare to those on the entire planet. You know? Because they're not going to understand. And especially you Jakes, you ain't paying attention to what's going on. Even though all of this shit is happening on the other side of the fucking planet, it's going to affect you here real soon, because that was just a preview for what you're about to encounter. Blackouts, rolling blackouts, extended blackouts, famines, cannibalism, the sword, your brother's coming against you, your mother's fighting you. You know, the very enemies are going to be them in your own household, because somehow you think that everybody's supposed to get the fuck up, everybody's supposed to get along. No, everybody ain't supposed to get along. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is a separatist. You know, the Lord is a separatist, and very soon a lot of you people are going to realize that. Even though it may be too late, you may realize that. I'm going to close out on this. The book of Luke, chapter 21, jumping down to verse 36. Watch ye therefore and pray always. Watch what's going on. You know, don't be so fucking stiff-necked where, you know, information is given unto you, but you don't want to fucking hear it because of how the fuck you feel. Because your feelings are going to get you destroyed. Because this truth isn't about emotions. This truth is about obedience. Regardless of how the fuck you feel about it or not. You know what I'm saying? So remove that emotional element out of it. And just deal. But a lot of these women and I gotta say it, a lot of these men are too fucking emotional. You know, and their emotions, a lot of them are gonna be destroyed. Needless to say, they don't have the names of Yahweh Yahweh Shai, which voids them from possibly being delivered. Watch ye therefore and pray always. Watch what the fuck is happening over in Spain, Portugal, Italy, Morocco, about how they lost power. What the fuck make you think it's not going to happen to you? Unless you're so prideful and you're so blinded that you just can't comprehend the fact that it's going to happen to you. That's what it boils down to. Because it has never happened to you yet. You actually think it's never going to happen to you. But Yahweh Shem Yahushua got a surprise for your ass. You know, as I just read in verse 35. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. Yeah, watch him pray. Repent. You know? Get down in this. So that when the time of Jacob's trouble happens, you know, you have a refuge. You know, you actually have Yahweh Shem Yahushua fighting for you. You know? You have a strong tower. You have a defense. But if you don't have the names Yahweh Yahweh Shai, hey, you're fucked. You're fucked already. And if you're so prideful that even when the information is being delivered to you as a pearl and you reject it, at that point, I look at you as swine. And the information that I gave you was for naught. You actually pulled away your fucking shoulder, you know. But the day is coming where judgment is going to be set, and a lot of you people are going to realize that you were wrong, you know. So, you know, that's the end of the lesson. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to bring that out because here it is. You had a woman working at a supermarket not being discerned enough to realize that the fucking shelves are going bare, that things are happening in the earth, wars and rumors of wars are happening. Russia is about to fucking destroy this place. Israel is about to go to war with Iran, and America is gonna be pulled into this fucking place. China is cutting off all fucking supplies. You know, the Babylon the Great. No ships are coming in and out. You see, all of these things are happening, and Jake ain't even fucking paying attention. Why? Because Jake's mindset is of this world. You know, they're drunk with the foolishness of this world, which Yahweh Shem Yahushua has enmity with this fucking world. The foolishness of it. Anyhow, so with that, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakaha, Quadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.